Hey, good afternoon. Wednesday afternoon in Minnesota. Here it's cold. It's about 37 or 38 degrees. We've got some cooler weather coming in over the next few days. But anyway, I'm going to catch you up right now. I've been working hard on this thing, and there are only two sections remaining. That's section 2, and that is section 1. And these two sections will complete the trip all the way around the lamp. So I have 3 sections, and I'll spin the lamp around in just a minute and show you that. I have 3 sections that are on the lamp right now, and they've been foiled. And then these 2 here will complete, like I said, all the way around. That means that I have 60% of the glass on the form. Let me pull my little chair out here, and we'll take a little trip around here. I just got to this point right here, and that is the right-hand section or left-hand section of section 3. So then section 2 will just start right at this point right here. In other words, see that piece right there? That piece right there goes right there. Right there. And here's another odd-shaped piece. That piece there goes right there. And I've come up with another way of doing this. This last section I took all of the glass that's on that light box, and I moved all of that glass on to the lamp form. And we've talked about the lamp form before. Mine's a little rough. I could take a heat gun and smooth that out if I wanted to. But that's just the sticky wax or tacky wax that I've placed on the mold, and that holds the glass up. And we'll just take a piece here. All right. And so you just stick it on there. And that'll hold it. And then what I'm doing right there is I'm going to come back and add all the pieces that are up here without any regard for how well they fit. I did a good enough job, or well enough job, when I cut all of that glass that they fit on the mold without any real hassle. They don't necessarily are a perfect fit. Some of it I have to grind just a little here and there. Now, these pieces down here, I left those to show you that that's the way I set up the spaces between them. And these all look pretty good. I don't think there's anything that needs to be done there. And I didn't have to grind any of those. So what I'll do is come back in here and probably just go right there and foil that piece, foil this one. Then I start seeing how they fit together. If they're foiled in like here, if I need to add a little space right up under there, I'll cut that off or grind that off. And I'm looking for my little poker stick. Here it is. And odd shaped piece right there. Here's one right. That is a little close right there. So we'll either come down here and grind that out, or we'll come here and grind a little bit right there to make that just a little bit better fit. Here, we just threw this piece up here, so we don't know really what's going on with that. There's some distance right there, so it might be necessary to grind a little bit off of that to shorten that distance up. I don't think we can go back up much in here, and a little bit maybe there. But anyway, it looks like we need to notch this out here just a little bit to bring that in a little closer. Down on the bottom, it's a little tight. So anyway, that's how it's done. That one doesn't fit exactly right, but it might by the time I get through playing around with this one here. That wouldn't hurt to take a little off that edge right there. Anyway, let's go around this thing and you get an idea of how big this is. And generally when I place the glass on here, I start up at the top and then move down just to get it onto the form. And I'm thinking now, one full section, it takes about 4 hours or so to get it onto the mold. And then I'm thinking about 2.5 days or so. It ends up being about 4 days total so far to get it onto the mold, and then all the pieces cleaned up real good and set up so that they fit enough to to put the foil on. Sometimes people come on my Facebook page, and foil is this stuff right here, and that's how we're gonna, there it is. That's how we're gonna get this glass to be permanent, because we're gonna come in with a soldering iron and solder all this copper. And of course the solder will stick to the copper or weld to the copper. So we'll have this huge matrix here, and it'll look a little bit like that lamp there. Anyway, so let's take a little trip around this lamp, and I think I'm going to back out here just a little bit, and you'll be able to see the size of this thing going all the way around. Now this is 3 sections that are on the lamp right now. That's a lot of glass. Shoot, we're still not around to the beginning yet there. There we go. There's where we started putting them on this mold right there. And so what remains is, let's get around to the edge there. So you can see that there going around to right there. So I've got 2 full sections here. And that's still a lot of glass left to go, but I'm doing pretty good. I'm thinking 4 days a section. It might be 5. But at any rate, even if it's 5, that's about 10 days left for all the glass to be on the form. And I'm really looking forward to that, because then I can start the soldering process. And that'll take some time for sure. But the most difficult part, of course, is the cutting all of that glass. And then this is kind of a slow, I'm just moving this thing around to the area that I'm going to next. Look at that. That's a lot of work. And I've really disciplined myself on this whole piece to stay as close as absolutely possible to the pattern, so that I get a real good fit for all these pieces. And then when this thing is all soldered together, you won't see this silver up here. And I'm going to come back up here and do some work up here. I think I'm going to file some of this down just a little bit, and then I'm going to make the solder joints up here a little softer, a little smoother, and then I'm going to try to rake them a little bit to put a little bit of the texture of the branch. Now this copper look that you see here is actually copper, and these are lead. Let's go around here where we see them a little better. These are lead castings that have been copper plated, and you just tap that down, and I'll make a decision. It appears that we're off the cartoon a little bit right there with that branch right there, but we really don't know for a fact. We pretty be off over here too. So those might need to be just squeezed together. In fact, you can see me, watch this here. You see that? Okay, and squeeze that together. So there's a little bit of that going on to, let's get over here a little closer where you can see it. To make sure I can get that glass inside of that envelope there where the casting is. And this casting moves pretty good because it's made out of lead. Now that'll all be soldered to the edge of the glass around there. You can see the glass up in there. And then here's another area right up, cavity up in here where glass will come down and get up under the edge of the lead there. So that's working pretty good. This is kind of slow work up in here. And I said this in a video here, the last video or two, that this takes about 3 or 4 times, I'd say 4 times longer to fit the glass up under here than it does down in the field of the lamp itself. So I don't have all that much more. This is, you know, just, and it's not boring to me, but it's tedious. Takes a long time to get it done. But I'll put this whole section in and then fit them and foil them. And see, I didn't do these here yet. That doesn't fit exactly right there. So we'll make a decision. Rather than carve this piece out, I might just grind a little bit on the edge of that piece there to get that to set right. But you got to be careful because you don't want to make it go up too far, because then you open the space up here too much. There's a little too much space right there. So that's what you're doing. You're kind of moving them around, making sure that you've got a kind of a consistent space between the pieces. It doesn't have to be exact, but relatively consistent, so that the matrix or this web of solder has a nice uniform look to it. Man, I can't get over how much work this actually is. I appreciate the effort that went into it just to cut it, foil it, and then get it on this form. This is quite a project. There's a lot of different steps to getting this thing done. I should mention that one interesting step will be when all of the glass is on the mold and soldered, we'll come back along the bottom and add all the way around the bottom, all the way, a 14 gauge wire, piece of wire, which will strengthen the edge of this. So there's that, and there's 5 more pieces of wire on the inside going from the bottom up. There's also a perimeter wire about 4 or 5 inches up that'll follow along, go all the way around. So all of that wiring, the 5 wires that nobody can see because they'll follow the line of the design, the perimeter wire, which nobody can see, and then the wire around the center circumference of the piece. No one will see those, but they add a tremendous amount of strength to a shade that's this big. This thing has got some size to it if you back up and look at it. Oh, and one other thing I discovered, check out this light. Look at that. That's just one of these Troffer, I think I pronounced that right, Troffer lights that you can buy. Look how thin that thing is. And it's an LED, and you drop these in these 2 foot by 4 foot drop ceilings. You buy these at the Home Depot and Menards. Here in this part of the country we have Menards, but and Home Depot, and they're held up with a clip. Anyway, they're made to go into suspended ceilings, and so I had them and used one as a light box on this project because this light box here just wasn't big enough. And then after I finished and got all the glass off the light box, I put it back in the corner of my shop, and then I thought, well, now wait a minute. I bet if I just put that thing up behind me, I'll get a tremendous amount of light out of it. And boy, has that made a difference in the light, because most of your light is coming from overhead. I do have a set of fixtures across the back here, but this thing is really lit up. And you could, of course, turn it horizontally. I have it vertical because I'm working in a piece like this, but I think those are like $70, and that's a tremendous amount of good light to do this project with, because you're seeing right now the benefit of that great light, because I can see every little nook and cranny that's associated with this thing. So anyway, that's all I have. If you have questions, be sure and ask. I guess I'm thinking 10 more days I'll have all the glass on here. Maybe a little less than 10. But anyway, somewhere thereabouts, and then we'll start the soldering. Well, thanks again. Bye now.